Hi friends, today is Monday, May 10th, and for Reading with Principal Rabb-Patterson, we are going to read the Sami versus the Negative Voice. And this is written by Sami Kader with assistance from Laura Schwab. And we just want to thank the author, Sami Kader, who donated this book to Stonegate, and just wanted to just say, it says, to Stonegate Elementary, you got this. So we just wanted to take the time to say thank you. All right, here we go, friends. Sami versus the Negative Voice. Sami was 8. He was starting grade 2. The other kids had friends, and he wanted some too. But Sami felt different from the kids in his grade, and he became sad at the jokes that some made. At recess, he would watch as all the kids played, but Sami wasn't invited, so alone he stayed. Sami's teacher decided one day in the fall that today they would play a game of kickball. When it came to sports, kids were pretty mean. They didn't want to have Sami on their team. Young Sami was determined to show everyone he knew that he could play sports and be good at them too. The pitcher geared up, the ball flew off the mound, but Sami's kick missed and he fell on the ground. Laughter burst out. "That was awful," they said. The kids pointed and giggled as Sami turned red. Sami came home upset with his heart bruised and torn, and that was the day the Negative Voice was born. The kids had all laughed, they had been so unkind, but worse than that now were the thoughts in his mind. "I'm awful, I'm terrible, I should have never tried. I can't do anything," he said as he cried. From that day on, it stuck like glue. Wherever Sami went, the Negative Voice went too. It followed him through grades 3, 4, and 5. Sami couldn't lose that voice, no matter how hard he tried. It was there during tests. "You can't do this," it said. It was so hard to think with the Negative Voice in his head. It was there during recess as all the kids played, saying, "You'll never have friends like those other kids made." So Sami went home and just sat on his couch. The Negative Voice made him lonely and kind of a grouch. His sister couldn't help. She didn't know what to do, so she told her friend Ronnie, hoping maybe he knew. When Ronnie showed up, young Sami complained. He just wanted to hide and not deal with the pain. Ronnie thought to himself, "I have no other choice. I must help Sami stop that Negative Voice." Ronnie told Sami, "It doesn't matter what they say. It's what you think of you, so make that voice go away." So Sami tried thinking about positive words, but since he didn't believe them, the Negative Voice he still heard. Ronnie scratched his head. He'd have to try harder. That Negative Voice was tough, but Ronnie was smarter. "Let's try something else. Now repeat after me. I got this," he shouted. "Just say it. You'll see." "I got this?" Sami said as he tried to repeat it. "No, not like that," Ronnie said. "You have to believe it." So Sami took a deep breath and closed both his eyes. "I got this," he yelled, but much to Ronnie's surprise. "That's it," Ronnie cheered. "You got this," he repeated, but he knew Sami's battle was not yet completed. Sami went back to school the very next day, and he tried not to think the negative way. "I can do this. I got this," he made himself say. "I'll never give up. I am awesome today." And as he continued, the Negative Voice got smaller. When Sami entered his class, he was walking a little taller. The kids all noticed something seemed out of place. Sami looked happy. He had a smile on his face. Sami's thoughts turned positive and his confidence grew. He began to like himself, and the other kids did too. When Sami would hear the voice say, "Don't try it," he'd say his positive words, and the negative voice would be quiet. "I got this." No longer was Sami sad and blue every day. When he thought positive things, the negative voice went away. Sami took what he learned from the battle he went through, and he hopes that these words can help someone like you. So don't let that negative voice come from you or another. Speak positive words to yourself, friends, and others. And when you meet people with nothing positive to say, tell them, "You got this," and brighten their day. You got this. All right. When we hear negative voices from other people, the worst thing we can do is start to believe it. If you hear negativity, just remind yourself that those words aren't true. Practice telling yourself positive things every day like, "I can do this," "I've got this," and "I'll never give up." Sometimes the negative voice becomes so big in our minds that we wind up passing it along by saying negative things to other people. Not only do we need to make sure we tell ourselves positive words, we also need to use positive words when speaking to others. And those are some of Sami's tips about the negative voice. The negative voice is not an actual monster. The negative voice represents the words we say or think to ourselves that prevent us from being able to try new things or feel confident in ourselves. Some examples of the negative voice are, "I can't do it," "I'm not good enough," or "I should just give up." All right. And so once again, that was Sami versus the Negative Voice, written by Sami Kader, with assistance from Laura Schwab, and also special contributors Melissa Jimenez, MS, LMFT, and Cara Walsh, MA, LMFT, and PPS. And once again, we want to thank Sami Kader for donating this book so that we could read it to each of you. Have a good evening, friends.